today's topic is how to finish for a strong fiscal year. Today is the 15th. We've got 2 weeks left to go for June. I know a lot of nonprofits, their fiscal year ends in June. So I thought, why don't I come up with some tried and true things in Razor's Edge that you probably already know. Maybe you know, maybe it's just a refresher. Maybe one thing at the end you don't know, and that's consecutive year reporting. So here's the agenda. I told you about that theme about what I hear commonly. We're only using 50% of Razor's Edge. I want to make sure that you know where to set up your end of fiscal year in Razor's Edge. That's in, again, you probably know many things I'm going to talk about. It's in database view, config, general, and you pick the ending month for your fiscal year. I want to talk about lapsing donors in NXT. Have you all seen the penguin graphic? No, you haven't seen that? All right, so I'm going to show you the penguin graphic. Then I want to talk about libunts in the classic Razor's Edge in database view. I'll tell you now, and I'll tell you when we look at it. I like NXT better. It's so much easier to run libunt. I'm sure you know this last year, but unfortunately not this year, a libunt report, and that's based upon your fiscal year, and then comparative report. When I started thinking about this, I really wanted to share with everyone about comparative report, but it really didn't make up a 30-minute agenda. So I wanted to go over things you might be looking at already. And then we'll do questions and answers. Brent and I met a month or so ago. So he knows a little bit about me. I don't work at Blackbaud now. I work at a business partner called Impact. There's about 8 of us that do what I do. We consult on Razor's Edge. Many of us spent a lot of time at Blackbaud. I was there for 17 years. I was there for 12 years and then left for 9 years using Razor's Edge in higher education and then in healthcare. And then I went back again for another 5 years before joining this company. Spoke a lot on Razor's Edge at conferences. You can see my academic background. And I'm here in Georgia, father of 3, husband of a school teacher. So I don't have a lot of slides to go through. I think this might be the last one where I'll show you the penguin. I'll jump right into Razor's Edge and NXT and into database view. If you don't know this, if you inherited Razor's Edge and maybe you missed some things for training, the value of having setting up your fiscal year is, at least in the classic view, a lot of the report parameters, you start on tab number 1. And one of the first things that Razor's Edge will ask is what date you want to run this for. Do you want to pick your specific dates? So do you want to run for last week or next month? Or run it for last fiscal year or fiscal year? And so that's the importance. That's the value of getting fiscal year set up. When you are in NXT and you go to it's reporting under the, I forgot what drop down that is. When you go to reporting, and the first thing you see when you go to the overview tab, you have a 3-year line over line, year over year graph that will pull from the beginning of your fiscal year. And then, of course, Libunt uses fiscal year. Here's, I'll send this to y'all. I think I have your email addresses for everyone. I'll show you where the in-screen help file for this is when we look at NXT. Sometimes I forget what these time corridors are. So you don't, as a customer, you don't get to define these beginning and end corridors. Razor's Edge does it for you, and there's no setting to change this. So it's hard-coded or baked in under the hood. Here's you're required. You can go to 12 months. And then from 12 to 15 months of no gifts, Blackbaud Razor's Edge will consider them at risk. And the next category, lapsing, and then lapsed. And then after 60 months or 5 years, then they're lost. You'll see it in the wheel in a second, the wheel graph of the, I guess it's called it's retention maybe. All right, so I'll start with NXT here. So when I go start from home, everyone, so we navigate from home. So right from here, I'll go to fundraising. That's the word I was looking for. We'll go to fundraising and then reporting. And then you'll see from it will pick the tab wherever you left off last. So if you're looking at retention or something else, if you're using opportunities for your pipeline, whatever your last tab you left on is where it'll go. Last time I was here, it was overview. So this is, I only have, I guess in the sample database, I only have 3 years, but in yours, you'll have 3 years. And it will be year over year. I want to take you down to probably something you've seen before, which is the donor life cycle. So you're looking at this, you say, all right, here's my gray, here's how many people I've got at risk, 6 people there, 1 here. But I don't know what those corridors are. What does that mean? How long has it been since the at-risk have made a gift? Well, just a minute ago, I showed you the penguins, but you have this embedded graphic here. So you can be reminded, when was that? Was I just looking at lapsed or at risk? 12 to 15 months. Have you all seen this before? Yeah.
I have not.
Yeah. So the reason I'm showing you this is, so now we're thinking about who do we have toward the end of our, maybe everyone's fiscal year is ending this month. So who do we have that's lapsing that we want to see if we can get them to renew their gift before the end of this fiscal year? Yeah, I was a fundraiser for 9 years, so I know a lot of our donors aren't. They're on their own time. They think the end of the calendar year is they want to make the gift, and we all know a lot of those gifts come, so they're not really thinking about our fiscal year. But if you can encourage them to make a gift by the end of the fiscal year, here's some ways to know who those people are that haven't made a gift in a while. So here's one by life cycle status, and that's again on the overview tab. I'm going to go to the retention tab, and we'll get a little bit of data. I'm going to focus on the LIBUNT. So you don't have to, in NXT, you don't have to run a report. LIBUNT just surfaces, and it surfaces as a number. So we know this is in blue, so you just click and pull it up. And so what's going to happen over on the right, it'll be a list of all of those people. So here's your 8 LIBUNTs. It could be 18, it could be 80, but here's the people who have given last year, but not this year. Have you all seen this in your system? And then another question is, if you have lists like this, do you know that you can export those very easily? I met with a customer, I've been doing this for 3 years with this company. I met with a new customer, and I was going through this with them, and it was the end of the calendar year. And I showed it to her, and it was, they've just been using Razor's Edge for a month or 6 weeks. And I showed this to her, and she said, Bob, I already know. This was in the middle of COVID when everyone was working at home. And she said, yeah, I ran this for all my, I know many of these people. So she just ran this like this. And then from here, you can export it. It has a lot of columns, more columns than you typically need. So it exports. And then you have it here to download and pull it up. Oh, maybe I downloaded that. So here's those eight people. And the reason I showed you this is you get a value of, you could either have those records viewing on the screen, but what if you're the person that has to produce the report for someone, and they said, can you just send it to me? And you say, sure, I can send it. Can I send it to you in Excel? And maybe clean up some columns that you don't need and then send it. So in other words, I would consider this to be a portable report. You've got it within Razor's Edge. You're here, fundraising, reporting, looking at retention.
Bob, can I ask a question about that?
Sure, yeah.
So if you have a variety of funds that you manage, because I sort of did this along with you so that I could see how to do it. It doesn't appear that it identifies to which fund that they belong, that they have not given like what they gave to before. So this is just basically that they gave, period. It doesn't identify.
That's right. Yes.
Okay. That's okay. That was my question.
Yeah. But you can filter out if you want, if you
Well,
say
you could just look up you could just look them up. They're up their record.
Sure. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Flipping over to database view, the live button is here. It's been here for a long time. It's just, as you know, when you go here, you say, I want to run a live button. What's my time frame? Answer some questions. Typically, it's just this, and then run it. I just think, I mentioned it before, and this will be the last time I'll mention it. I just think when you are in NXT, you click that report, you see everybody. You know what happens at the end of this when you preview it. It's just a preview. When you do it within NXT, you can do a direct link right to that person's record. Just as Stacy just said, so I can look it up. I can pull out that person's record and look them up. You can't do that as a result of a preview report in database view. While I'm here, before I go to the comparative report, I skipped over the agenda. This is, again, probably something y'all know. Kevin, I'm catching you up. We talked about setting up fiscal years. So that's done in database view only. In general, in config, and then in general, you just make sure your last day of your fiscal year is here. This one is aligned with calendar year, but for many organizations, it would be the end of June, would be the end of the fiscal year, beginning in July. Is everyone else set on that already? Fiscal year, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. So so if I do that and under my logon ID, does that set that for everyone who's looking
Yes.
at?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. 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 A lot of times you've got your user preferences that just follow
Right.
your login around, but here on config in general, this is for everybody. And most of you probably don't see this unless you're logged in as the supervisor. You don't see this block here. It just stops here from the side up. All right, so think about this concept. If you're agreeable, you're thinking, all right, Bob's onto something, or maybe we're doing this already. We just need to prioritize and say, maybe I want to look at the live bunts and look at the people that are lapsing, and I got some extra time between now and the end of June. I'll look for those people that haven't given yet. But what if you've got maybe you've got a portfolio of people? If you're a direct fundraiser, or you're supporting a direct fundraiser, and someone has been giving, you've got someone that's close to your organization, a board member, or someone that does mid-level giving of 500 or 1,000 or something every year. But then something happened. There was an event or some peer-to-peer giving where it wasn't a gift as much as it normally is every year. So I'm going to show you an example. I just have two records. It's Wendy Hernandez and myself, who made good size annual gifts last year, but we only made a $50 gift and a $25 gift this year. So if you were to run these live bunt reports or donor retention reports, we're not going to show up. But in the comparative report, you can say, it's meant to say, do you want to look for anyone that increased, decreased, or both? And did they increase or decrease by a dollar amount or a percentage? I've been doing this for a long time. I don't know why you'd want to look for someone that increased, but it's there. And for this purpose, for my demonstration, I'm going to show you just someone that has decreased. So it's back in reports in analytical, where we were looking at the live bunt report. You know, everything's alphabetical here. So I'm just going to look at comparative report. And I've got one set up for decreasing by 20%. You can only do it for 2 time periods. I just set up for two different calendar years. You can set up for 2 different fiscal years. You can set it up for 2-month periods. Let's compare these 2 months or 4 months or this quarter against last quarter, however you want to set it up. You know all these. You can filter by fund, campaign, and appeal, by gift types, what you want to include for individual salutation, and maybe phone number are on these tabs. I'll skip those. And so on the many times when you run, say, tallies or demographical or statistics, you need to go to the detail area here to look at what radial button you're going to choose. So I'm saying not increase, decrease by an amount or a percentage. And I'm just going to say by 20%. So what we're looking for is the people who had made a good or any gift last year, but they made another gift this year, but it just really wasn't that much. They were off, and maybe there's an opportunity to talk to them about another gift. That's all. That's what I'm trying to find out.
Bob, is this only in database view or is it in
NXT? Yeah. I have to say that a lot because not everything is in NXT yet.
Gotcha.
So this I could have probably should have set this up for a July to June timeframe for fiscal, but it's calendar year. So here's these two donors from last year, and they just made modest gifts, maybe we don't know, to something. So they're off. And so the question is there an opportunity to talk to them about getting closer to these gifts from last year? So this was when I started thinking about content for this is what I really wanted to show is this comparative report. I've seen independent school, a K-12, use this. And so they were running it for, you can filter all of these reports in database view start out this way, where you can say, do you want to run it for all, select it, or one? So I saw someone running it for just for alumni. So you can run it for alumni, you can run it for parents or grandparents, you might run it for a board. Maybe you've got a list of your 24 board members, and that's a query. And then you just use that query and plug it in here to find out who hasn't given as much this year as last year. I got one more slide to show you, then I'll open it up for questions. So I'll send this to y'all if you'd like. I sourced this. If you want better instructions than Bob, and you want the Blackbaud instructions on running comparative report, here's the knowledge base. And it talks about all the different tabs and all the parameters. We're only 21 minutes after the hour, and I'm finished. What questions you have for me? This is just like a bite-sized little tidbit. It's not all 24 slides and a lot of talking.
No, I appreciate it. I actually learned a lot. I spend most of my time in Financial Edge, actually. So I always try and learn about Razor's Edge anytime I get the chance, because it's a little limited, but it was very good. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
No, this is great. Thank you. And you're going to send us this stuff, right? Great.
Yes. Yeah.
So I had a question. I clicked on the at-risk in our RE NXT, and this looks like it's hardwired, and it's including inactive and deceased.
Oh, yeah.
And that's in NXT. Is there a way I can change it in NXT? Probably not.
No.
Really?
No,
and why would they give us dead people?
Right.
Let's not sugarcoat it, Karen.
Yeah.
So since we're sitting here, we do a donor acquisition campaign through our volunteers. So we get what I call one gift wonders that are probably about 500 of them a year. Now, obviously we try to retain them.
Mm-hmm.
But that is one of the challenges when we give our benchmarks to our board on retention is that is not, I don't think it's a really good example, and I'm not quite sure how I can change that out, how we could modify how we do the retention and get actual numbers. Our long-term donors. I'm looking at an at-risk donor in our database and I can kind of see them, if it's one gift, but then I have a donor who started giving in 2003. So that would be a loyal donor who is truly at risk. Can you think of a way with all of your years of experience where we could sort out that group?
What's the criteria for the metric for the retention? In one of the tabs in NXT, or I showed you the lapsing ones, the one next to it was retention, and I have to go back and look at it. I think it's who gave their first gift last year and gave again in the same year is on that retention tab. Is that the metric that you're providing to the board?
Retention is, I'm not sure. I stopped there because I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I pretty much just use the metrics that Razor's Edge uses.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know what it does for year two. So I think I think the retention is made a gift last year, but then they gave again in the same year.
Okay.
Yeah. But then extrapolate that more. I guess you have to do some queries then. So what if someone gave for 5 years and then in year 6 dropped?
Right. Okay.
Do you also run comparative reports? Not comparative.
No.
Consecutive year report, consecutive year giving?
I really like that comparative report. We're going to be looking at that internally and starting to use that more. I had never used that one. We probably use 25% of Razor's Edge. So this was really this was nice to have sort of that snapshot. And would you suggest, we have 490 at-risk donors right this second at the end of the fiscal year. So maybe scrolling down that and doing some outreach, maybe an email, maybe a call.
A call?
Okay.
Yeah, I like calls.
Okay.
I got a long story about a friend of mine, a VP at an independent college, who got a note at the end of the year from a deceased longtime donor. She'd been giving consecutively for 20 years. And the family said, Mom died. Can you take her off the list? And so Steve thought, all right, I can just give it to my database person and have them delete it. But he thought, I'll give him a call. So he researched this donor, been given modest, say under $500 for 20 years, and what was not an alum of the school. So got the son on the phone and said, I just was curious, how come Mom continued to give? Well, she likes your it's agriculture.
Okay.
And so she liked bass fishing, and she liked agriculture, and she liked nature conservancy. He said, can I just ask you, she liked bass fishing? We've got a bass fishing team. Really? Tell me about it. Well, they competed all over the region, all over the country, but we don't have a bass boat. So the son said, how much would a bass boat cost? Well, end of the story, I won't tell you all the detail. They got $35,000 for the bass boat.
Nice. Yeah.
Because of the phone call.
Yeah. Well, we are at the end of the fiscal year, and we are working to get to that finish line. So just wanted some incentive and some motivation to get rolling there.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining. I hope it was helpful. D'Amica or Kevin, any questions or comments before we close?
I just love that the comparative report, because that'll be very useful. I run a live hunt campaign that goes out on a monthly basis to the people who gave 1 year prior, and having that direct, showing how much their gift has gone up or down or whatever, can be very helpful.
Yeah. I did that the last time I was using Razor's Edge. I call it my 13-month query. So that once they roll from 12 to 13 months, then I'd have a list of those people.
The penguin graphic, is that something that's embedded in Razor's Edge, or did you make that up?
That's when you go to that wheel where it has the lapsing, whatever, when it says whatever that black label is at the top, and there's the Razor's Edge has many of those embedded help screens. It's the blue circle with the white eye. If you click on that white eye within the blue circle,
Trying to find it.
it's under the label of the report.
So donor by life cycle.
Mm-hmm. And you have a blue eye?
I don't have a blue eye.
Like these ones here?
Oh, that, but
Yeah.
duh. I was thinking eye. That is really embarrassing. Oh, well, it's going to be one of those days. Oh my
Get it?
God, I love it. There it
Yep.
is.
Mm-hmm.
The blue eye. That is awesome.
Yeah. It's the little things.
It truly, I am so easily amused. Well, Bob, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Hope to see you
you.
back. Hope to see you back next month. My continuing series on using 50%. And for Karen, we'll narrow it down for you for the 25%.
Thank you.